Hello all. It's good to see that you are watching my videos and enhancing your knowledge on the subject social work. I have uploaded a lot of videos related to the concept of social work and other aspects like philosophy of social work, basic assumptions, basic elements, and the tools and related material. It's good to see. Really, thanks to all. So today, in continuance with the casework topic, today I'll be briefing you all about the propositions of casework. But before moving ahead, let's say what the word proposition actually means. Proposition is a theoretical statement. We can say it's a basic idea or the concepts which is related to casework. Becoming more prominent towards the word, propositions are actually the relationships between the concepts that are already established and that has been accepted as facts. So there are certain fundamentals of human behavior which is drawn from different behavioral sciences and that has been presented as propositions. In casework, these propositions constitute a convenient conceptual framework for understanding human behavior. So let's see and start with our very first proposition of casework, and that is an individual's behavior is conditioned by his or her environment and his or her life's experiences. See, we all know that behavior of an individual refers to his feelings, his thinking, talking, and doing. His environment is actually his surroundings, that is, all other human beings, animals, and inanimate elements, the conditions and the influences surrounding him. In other words, we can say that this proposition focuses on the simple fact that whatever the individual's behavior is, whatever is his personality, is actually framed in the way he has been brought up. He has been socialized. For instance, in the same situation, two people can behave in the same manner, but they can also behave differently. And many times it happens that in the same situation, two people behave differently. And why they behave differently? Because the differences in their behavior is actually attributed to the differences in their environment and in their life's experiences. We can even say that in a general public, there are a lot of people, but some becomes criminals, while many turns out to be honest. Why this happens? This simply happens because the way they has been brought up totally depends on the way their surroundings has been and their environment has been. It is therefore possible to explain a person's behavior at least partially by probing into his or her environment and his or her life experiences. Moving ahead with the second proposition, that is, for human growth and development, it is essential that certain basic needs are to be met. We all know that every human being has basic needs and that is very important that they should be met in time. The basic needs are physical needs, emotional needs, and intellectual needs. Intellectual needs means the mental needs, and these are important for the holistic development of human beings, and they have to be fulfilled in an ongoing manner and at appropriate times in order that a child may develop normally towards physical, emotional, and intellectual maturity. See, basic physical needs refers to human body's needs for food, shelter and clothing. But to meet the emotional and intellectual needs, there has to be a number of activities which engage the child's thinking and reasoning abilities and which foster his or intellectual, that is mental growth. So opportunities for mental growth are an essential requirement for the personality development. And with growing up, it almost becomes important that he or she should be able to distinguish between what is right and wrong, what is realistic and unrealistic, and what is acceptable and what is not acceptable by the society. And this thing can only be there, and this thing can only be developed in children with the guidance and discipline. These qualities can only be imbibed with the guidance and direction from the parents and from the other people and other organizations like schools and colleges. Now, the third proposition says that emotional needs are real and they cannot be met, or they even can't be removed through intellectual reasoning. To explain this, I would like to start with an example so that the concept becomes more clear. See, talk about a small child of 2 years old who has been crying for his or mother, who is not at home, maybe because of any reason. So, here, mere factual explanation of mother's absence may not be sufficient to pacify the child. So here, other strategies of cajoling may have to be used. Other methods to pacify the child has to be used because emotional needs are as real as physical needs. And when the emotional needs are not fulfilled, the child will keep on crying. So here it becomes important that emotional needs should be fulfilled. It is true that when uncomfortable feelings are provoked in an individual by any reason, by any particular situation, a rational explanation by the second person may not be sufficient, or it may not suffice for the removal of the feelings. Whatever may be the reason, whatever may be the explanation for that problem, it cannot be the immediate help. Feelings are provoked because the particular situation touches some area of the person's emotional need. So, mere explanation of the problem or the obstacle, however it is rational, it's not going to solve the problem immediately. So, emotional needs are more important and it's parallel to the physical needs, and they cannot be erased or removed or met through intellectual or through mental reasoning. Now, moving ahead with our fourth proposition, it says behavior is purposeful and it is in response to the individual's physical and emotional needs. This proposition also I would like to start with an example. For instance, Ravi is a 7 years old child and he is studying happily in his first class. He is an active, responsive and a well-behaved child. But suddenly one morning, he appears to be a different person, being cranky, being unhappy and sad. Now here question arises that what is the reason for such a change in his behavior suddenly? His teacher investigates and finds that Ravi's mother has been in hospital for few days and now he is staying with some of his relatives with whom he is not familiar. On that, his father has no time for Ravi. because he has divided his time between the hospital and the workplace. So here Ravi is full of lot of questions, but no one has time to solve his queries. And as a result, the sudden change in his behavior is open, is visible to all, and is obvious to those who know and understand his current situation. So in casework, it is important and even essential to explore the reasons for person's behavior so that one can understand his or problem properly and in a much better way. So the proposition 4 simply says that much of the human behavior is explainable as long as the physical and the emotional needs are observable. Something which is open, something which is observable is easily understood. But some of the ramifications of the emotional needs are not easily known, are not easily understood. So it becomes very important to establish a linkage between the need and the behavior. Last but not the least, the fifth proposition of casework says that other people's behavior can be understood only in terms of one's own emotional and intellectual comprehension or emotional and intellectual understanding. See, mostly what happens, human beings, rather, we all have an attitude to make our own guesses about the behavior of the people. We simply categorize them and attach different labels. But this process actually leads to judging the people, and it doesn't have to do anything with understanding their behavior or their personality. So our efforts should always be directed towards understanding the people, understanding their behavior by being open, by being mentally free and devoid of the preconceived notions about the people, and a readiness to learn with the help of facts. These three things are very much important to understand people's behavior. And these three things are simply the state of being open, secondly, devoid of having any sort of preconceived notions about the people, and third, a readiness to learn and to experience with the help of facts, and then to come out to the conclusion that certain person's behavior is actually the result of all the surroundings, of all the situations in which he or she has been. We have to start from a point of assumption. We have to start from a point where the problem has been arising. We have to move towards understanding actually. This simply says that we are just ignorant of the problem, but we have to move towards understanding. And this can only be possible when we are open towards the person and we are not going to label him as good or bad or judging him. So knowledge becomes important here. That is, knowledge about the behavior of the person and why he is behaving in a particular manner. And then we have to be very much helpful so that the process of understanding becomes more clear. And here it's important that to achieve the high level of emotional and intellectual learning or say comprehension of the client's behavior, we have to be open-minded with emotional and intellectual understanding. I think the propositions of the casework would be clear to all. If you are not clear with any of the propositions, you are always welcome to come up with your queries. I would love to solve them. By the time, take care of yourself and the surroundings around you. Thank you.